All right, let me give the people a few minutes to come in.
Yeah, something I wanna well, I don't really clear up, man. It is what it is. Ain't nobody put no Abraham. It's not. It's hard. It's too hard. It's too hard. It's not a debate. If I was a believer, I would take. I
So
would take that debate.
I was gonna wait till people come in, but you only got 10 minutes, so let's get right into it. So how did you first of all how did you think you did, and then how did you think the brother did?
I think I did pretty good, but I don't think. I mean, with a debate like Abraham, there's not much I can do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I could present information and show that the storyline ain't too righteous. It ain't right, but there's not much you can do. I mean, it's hard to prove. If I was a believer, I would never take that debate. I wouldn't. It don't make no sense. No matter how much methodology you want to show, because when you think about it, you could do methodology and talk about using this and do that and gather information and then you do the steps and all that stuff. It still ain't gonna prove Abraham existed because you have nothing. It's just a story. And I think the only thing he never mentioned this. Abraham, out of all of Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac, Abraham is a personal name. Jacob is not, and Isaac is not. So that's why they might feel he's a real guy, because he has a personal name, Abraham. But for the others, they're either connected to a deity, which is Jacob and Isaac. So it's kind of hard to say, hey, Abraham is real, he's not real, but then you have stories. I showed the Sodom and Gomorrah story, although it's after the Bible story. They both come from a story, which is the same thing. People turning into salt and all that craziness. Come on, man, it's crazy. Dude coming down from Greece, coming down to Carthage to Rome. It's the same thing of him going to Haran and into Canaan. All of these cultures have these stories. They call foundational myth. That's how you know the Greeks are connected to the biblical text. Even if you look at the flood story don't follow the Babylonian as much as it followed the Greek version of the story. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there's a lot of things with the Bible, man. I mean, I'm not a believer, so all what I'm saying don't affect me. You know?
Yeah. It is like to me, it's kind of like when people say, and this, I mean, it's a different subject, but along the same lines. It's kind of like when people talk about the historicity of Jesus and
Hmm.
whether or not he existed. To me,
Hmm.
his existence isn't the question. I'm fine with him existing. Like
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
think he existed. I tell people all the time. I don't think, as arrogant as we know white supremacists Europeans are, they would not pinpoint the timeline that they came up with on a person that didn't exist. If we want to go to the simplest thing,
Hmm.
but then we have the evidence that the consensus of scholars agree with on his
Right.
existence.
Right. 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 Right.
So
Right.
the thing for me is his existence is irrelevant. Did he get up from the dead? Is what's relevant.
But no, 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 no. You see, now you make a small little turn right here, because what happened is whenever they're looking for Jesus, they're looking for somebody in history. They're not looking for a supernatural. This is where
Right.
the common folks jump out the window. Nobody's looking for somebody that walks on water. Nobody's looking for somebody that resurrects from the dead. Nah, all they're looking for is two different things. Was he crucified, and did people believe he was the Christ? That's it. You have
Mm-hmm.
an oral tradition over 150 years. We got oral tradition, Black Lion. You can't say oral tradition don't exist, because it exists. And as far as the historical method, you can use oral tradition. We have oral tradition. So what happened? We fit that criteria. There's no rule that you got to fit all the criteria.
Yeah, I feel like that was always my thing. It's like, and when I say did he rise from the dead, I'm just speaking from a when you're talking to a Christian, when they talk about his existence, it's like his existence don't make your belief true. So yeah, that person could have existed, but that don't make the belief true. like I tell people all the time, like years from now, like I call you Garfield the Great. So 50, 60 years from now, somebody could make a myth out of Garfield the Great. You could have been the greatest YouTube conscious community debater that ever lived. Went under, like, you know what I mean? Like, we can, any person can be made a myth of. That's not a big deal. Hell, I think Alexander the Great, while he lived, said he was the son of a god. So that's not a big deal to me. I feel like people make too big a deal out of his, whether or not he actually is historical. Any of these individuals. But you know, that's just me. But from the standpoint of you and Leandre conversation, were you expecting him to be as good as he was, or were you expecting it to be a cakewalk?
I mean, I didn't expect anything really because I knew where he was going. You know, I read an article earlier this morning, and he's pretty much saying all the stuff that he's saying because at the end of the day, people, there's no real argument to prove Abraham existed. Even if you go through the steps of methodology, you're gathering information. What are you going to gather? You're going to gather the Mari text, the Nuzi text. You have a guy named Abraham, the Ebla text. All these texts you're gathering. Did this person go up to Haran? Did they leave from Haran and go to Canaan? Did they go from Canaan to Egypt? You're not going to find that person. You're not going to find it. Now, if you want to look at it from a different perspective, now I said, hey, he was an Amorite and he traveled all over with a bunch of people, you know, sheep herders. That's different. But that's a group of people that you're talking about, which I think the Bible writers is trying to say that they traveled. Because if you look at, although Ezekiel 16:3 don't have this direct meaning, when it says your father is an Amorite and your mother is a Hittite, you got to look at it. Why would they say Amorite? Amorite in the Bible is indigenous Canaanites. Hittites at one point were called Canaanites. Canaanites were Hittites. So that's who the Israelites are, you know. So
yeah, and I wonder why. Like when we like, it's clear to me that the Israelites are Canaanites. I wonder why. So this and I ask you, why do our people, not the ones who claim to be Israelites, but just Christians, why do they have an issue with Israelites being Canaanites and some of the things that history, and I say real history and not Bible history, that real history points to about these people versus
they have to because remember the origins have to come out of the Exodus tradition. Has to.
Okay.
Has to. Because remember, you see, when I mentioned that the pre-exilic prophets, the northern prophets, don't know Abraham, that is a huge argument. Because if he's the father, you're talking about Jacob in that sense, but you're not talking about Abraham in that sense. So then you got to look at it: is Jacob more of a northern tribe connection? Is Abraham a southern tribe? Because if you look at where he is, he's around Hebron and Shechem and all them northern area. Well, Hebron, he's around those areas, and then Jacob is around the northern areas. So you see, like it's two different traditions, and they just possibly merge them with the whole 12 tribe stuff.
Okay. Yeah, because I to me, it's like I know why you know my brother Cap 10K or even the Jeremiah Judah would balk at that, but then I like my Christian brothers and sisters. It's like, why y'all worried about it? That it's not us. It's kind of like the same situation we get into about with our Kemetic brothers and sisters. It's like, why y'all worried about that?
You mean like Black Lion, the Egyptomaniacs?
Black Lion not an Egyptomaniac.
Black Lion can't help it. He's been baptized by Asar spirit, man.
Me and Black Lion in the same wheelhouse. We not quite Egyptomaniacs. We kind of in the middle somewhere. But yeah, it's like, because I had a conversation with somebody and they was like, well, you know, the West, they try to put the West African religions on us. And the thing about Kemet, we put that in stone. And I was like, you know, the West African traditions go back 5,000 years. Well, I don't want to hear about no Wikipedia. I was like, that's not Wikipedia, Chief. And it blew me away that you saying Kemet is us, but then you're talking about West Africa and saying don't put that on us. Like we so removed from our actual culture and history that we
Don't be coming on there eating, man. That's not proper methodology.
Hey, I held off.
Whoa,
You know what?
Crisscross.
I'm gonna start going on the Farnetta channel. He don't treat people like this.
Crisscross. First of all, you and your wife give me the business about eating, which I am right now. I'm eating some chili cheese Frito.
Hey, Leandre, let me ask you a question. Do you think, and this ain't got nothing to do with the debate, by the way. Do you think that Osiris's resurrection influenced the biblical narrative?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. I don't think there was heavy interplay between the people, especially the people who would have came later. And I remember, I think Bob Price and Richard Carrier were talking about something similar related to stories of resurrection in ancient Canaan. And Bart Ehrman.
Do you think?
I don't hear that.
Do you think any influence from the New Testament comes from Egypt? I'm saying influence.
Well, influence as far as what? I think there was cultural interaction. I think that there was cultural interaction. I think that people would have, like changed styles of dress. There would have been all sorts of influences as far as things influencing. So I guess it would be as far as influencing what?
Do you think the virgin birth comes from Kemet?
Oh no, I don't think the virgin
birth. Why not? Because listen to what Black Lion teaches. Black Lion says,
"Come on, man."
that the Septuagint was translated in Greek,
mm-hmm.
and that the word for young woman was mistranslated. It was changed to virgin, and of course, the Greek is in Egypt. They wrote it in Alexandria, Egypt. So they got virgin from Egypt.
Yeah, so so I would say that Black Lion has all sorts of he's making all sorts of leaps, skips, and jumps that would make Spider-Man blush. But the thing is, so I'm a student of Greek and Hebrew, not a grammarian in any sense of either of those two, but the Hebrew word, the semantic range of the word alma, already includes the word virgin. It doesn't necessitate virginity, but what's always assumed when talking about alma is that you have a young woman who's marriageable. And and in a patriarchal society, that would mean that woman is a virgin. When they translated it over into Greek, well, that was done according to what we know. That was done by Hebrew people, and the word that they chose is Parthenos. And so, just because they were at a particular location, I guess I wonder if Black Lion would just skip the fact that of who was ruling Egypt at the time. That was the Ptolemaic dynasty during this period. So I don't know why he would assume that it's
because they had access to the Alexandrian library. They could have gone on the walls and saw the Asara said Heru story.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that the Alexander Jews were so isolated. They didn't even want to F with anybody.
Well, right, yeah, and that thing has been true of the Jews, particularly regardless of throughout history. Throughout history, regardless of where you find them, and they've been willing to die for this sort of, to die for this sort of status here, we have like cases of like intermingling in the marriage, but as far as like the culture, again, these were people who like their entire celebration of Hanukkah is them celebrating the fact that they're willing to die rather than change their customs and adopt a pagan.
Very good point. I don't think a lot of people understand that the conundrum that existed between like the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the Zealots, the hundreds of different sects of Jews that existed. People act like it's one homogeneous group, and the folks that wrote it. Let me ask you this, because this is something that I don't know. How would you determine? I don't have the scholarship on it. Who wrote the New Testament? I mean, the Gospels, and where were they? I know Mark, they said, was in Rome. I couldn't be wrong on that. But how do you determine where the person was?
Well, yeah. So a lot of what we have about where biblical writers were at the time that they wrote, a lot of it has to do with later church history, so later accounts, but also, and then a lot of it has to do with the Book of Acts. So the Book of Acts talks about like where Paul was and stuff at that time, and in Paul's letters he'll reference where he was at that particular time and date. That he's writing to you, from jail. Same thing with Peter. So you have later a more extant history among the people who were followers of the particular biblical characters who say, hey, he was on such and such. You have later accounts, if that answers the question.
But what I know about Paul, that's easy. What about like Matthew?
Yeah. So yeah, that relates to later Christian figures of the second and third century. Talking about I was a student of Polycarp.
Oh, like Pius and the
yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We've.
I got you. I'm even giving it some thought because me and Blackline always argue in the back chat like we don't know who wrote the Bible and where they were and all that stuff.
Yeah, what's interesting. What's interesting about that particular position is that it also is like it's historically untenable. At the time, one thing that we know that everybody agrees is that there was pseudographia that was out there. You had people like claiming to so you had a chain of custody. So you also wouldn't have stories that circulated without attribution. So whether or not, so you have a kata Mattheon, which means according to Matthew, kata Petros, and so on and so forth. So all of the evidence that we have from like the second century, for example, says, and looking at the way that they compiled other historical documents, you don't have documents circling without some attribution. So it's kind of like an interesting position. It's like, okay, so on the one hand, you'll say that there's pseudographia, people claiming to be such and such author, and in the very same breath saying that they circulated anonymously, like which you can't have it both ways. So yeah, I think the dude name is Martin Hegel, and I think he did a. I don't have the book in front of me, but it's over there. I can grab it if you want.
See if I got it on my computer. Hold on, I'm gonna check right now. Right now. Martin Hengel, right? Hengel.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I'm freestyling his name. I know it starts with an H, but yeah. So yeah,
he has a bunch of stuff. Cross, the Son of God, crucifixion in the ancient world, conflicts and challenges in earth.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. So his study, Martin Hengel studies in the Gospel of Mark. That particular one, he talks about. You didn't have documents of the New Testament circulating. Well, you didn't have documents circulating without attribution, especially given the fact that there was a pseudographia and stuff that was going around, and so there was a practice, which Bart, I'm going to tell you, there was a practice that when you compiled a text, one of the ways that you assured like a chain of custody of a particular text was to hand it to someone trusted and have that person hand deliver it to the other people you were talking about. So you have in Islam they would call this an isnad. You have a chain of custody regarding a particular text.
You know what's crazy? We always talk about conspiracies and how the Christian church destroyed all this material. But how did it end up in the Quran, the Gnostic stuff? Because they're taking the Gnostic stuff like word for word. I'm like looking at the Nag Hammadi and I'm like, hold on, is this in the Quran?
Hey, that's one of the funniest things when I talk to the Muslim brother stuff. It's like, yeah, I just like want you to know, like the majority of your source material is Jewish mystic sources or Christian Gnostic sources. Like that's the majority of what you have there. But yeah, and I mean, and the funny thing about it is in the first couple of centuries, Christians didn't even have control of the empires. I don't even know how this would have happened. I mean, you got second and third century Gnostic texts. How were the Christians being a persecuted people, according to historians to talk about Christians? They weren't in any position of authority. How were they destroying all of these particular texts? So it of course, as you know, it gets kind of weird when you start asking questions about, okay, explain that to me. How do you get Jewish mysticism and Christian Gnosticism in the Quran if these sources were burned and destroyed? So. Yeah, and you're talking about 7th century Arabia, way somewhere else. So, how did it have a long textual tradition up to that point? How could that be?
Yep. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. But, hey, listen, man, I'm going to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I can't stay long, but good debate, bro. We could do it again if you want to do something again. But I'm here, man. Or we could get into some of this Egyptomania stuff anytime. I do think Egypt has some stuff. Let me has
Hey,
some stuff.
Garfield, like, hey, look, man, why you gotta keep messing with Kemet, man? Like, no, I'm just go ahead. I'm just messing with you.
I got Jabari fever. What's wrong with that? Like Black Lion said, you see, I got Jabari fever. But now we need to a lot of these stuff that we have in our communities, we need to clear up. I don't know. Whether I win or not, I'm gonna tell you this: the conscious community gonna change that day I debate Jabari. It's gonna be a lot of pseudoism that's gonna be destroyed. It's sad.
That brother said pseudoism.
Hey,
Like,
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Leandre. Do you think December 25th? I don't know if you celebrate it or not. I don't care.
I do. Yeah.
Let's look at this now. December 25th, and what did I say yesterday?
Haru's birthday.
Yeah, Haru's birthday, right? December 25th, and what did I say yesterday? Was it the virgin birth? December 25th of the virgin birth. Saying that comes from Kemet is one of the best recruiting tools for Kemet.
Well, I think if you're talking to some people who really don't know anything, I think that's going to be a really effective recruiting tool. But it's not anything that you can derive historically. And yeah, there's a host of scholarship that I've already read on it. But yeah, it's you can't use that if you're trying to also say that you're giving some historical account of things. It doesn't make any sense.
No,
Neither does birthday.
But as a recruiting tool, though, you don't think that's a good recruiting tool? Because December 25th, we know it's not Jesus' birthday, although the early church did say there's some church fathers in the 3rd century that said, March 25th and
December 25th. Yeah, 9 months for a prophet's birthday and that sort of thing. Yeah,
right, March 28th. So we know it's not connected to March. Actually, December 25th, the first I see it in history is in Christianity. To be honest, I haven't seen anything before Christians. Even when you look at the winter solstice, that's a whole different conversation.
I'm just about to say the actual problem is the winter solstice is not even on December 25th. So
well, yeah. The winter solstice starts December 21st
or the 22nd.
Right. Yeah. But
when the sun rises, when it comes back, is on the 25th or the 26th.
Yeah, well, that's not none of this stuff. This doesn't do anything but saying that like these people are, that they had a date for something also, but you're sort of superimposing an interaction between these cultures around this particular topic that you're presupposing that they're taking it from them. This is one of the things that A.R. Miller, as one of the sources that both Garfield and I use, talks about. That sort of dependence theory. Like you have to bring something more than just showing a similarity between two things, or that two things occurred on the same date. I mean, you can probably find some day of the year that some people around the world were doing something, and just to say that Christians or Jews did something on some particular date doesn't at all suggest it. And that's what I was going to say earlier. Bart Ehrman, when he was responding to Richard Carrier and Robert Price, talked about one of these this particular line of argumentation, and he says, "Show me someone within 200 years of Jesus, 200 years prior to Jesus, who was even reading any of these texts, to where they would have gotten these ideas about it." And this was Bart Ehrman's question to Bob Price and Richard Carrier. So,
say the question again.
Oh yes. So what he asked is, show me any person living in Israel at the time within 200 years of the time of Christ who was even interacting and reading these stories. Show some evidence that they were interacting with these stories.
Yeah, that's the thing too, because if you look at the Meganetta and it comes down to the Coptic or the Demotic or whatever, who is actually in the culture of Israel, even if they live in Alexandria, Egypt, doing that? Because Alexandria, Egypt, they were a community, as far as I know, they didn't even want to mess with people outside their area. They didn't care about the people. So I'm trying to figure out how they go in a Greek controlled area and say, hey, I'm gonna come in your Egyptian temples and I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. Well, it's possible. Possible how? Why would they? They had their own traditions already. I'm trying to figure out, not that the traditions that they have are not influenced in any way, shape, or form, because they've been on a captivity throughout their history. So they must have gotten something. I mean, I come to America, I heard about Thanksgiving and Halloween. All of a sudden, you go to Jamaica now, people celebrate Thanksgiving and Halloween. It's crazy. So,
I'm gonna tell y'all what this is, and this just and Garfield. I hope if this messing with your debate, stop me.
Nah, don't worry about it, man. Do your thing.
What this is, when we try to make these comparisons to Christianity with regards to Kemet, it's because we think Black people need an alternative to Christianity. So we come up with at this alternative. We make an alternative because we think black people need church. And so, and for those who feel that way, this is no offense to you, but we don't, like, if you don't believe, you just don't believe. You don't have, like, my thing is, if you gonna do all the things that you would normally do when you go into church, just take your ass to church. Just keep going to church. Otherwise, chill out. Because that's all this is to me, is giving people, trying to give black people a different form of church. Like I don't see no other way around it, because when you look at these things, they gather on Sunday, they say things like "do it in a turn" instead of saying "thank you Jesus" or "thank you God." It's the same setup with a Kemetic or an African, if you want to say that, coat on it. It's the same thing though, but you still have this spiritual practice, and that's okay. But just say that. Say, I think people need an alternative spiritual tradition, and stop trying to make these one-for-one comparisons, because they ain't there.
Yeah, you go ahead, bro. You're chipping up, brother. You're chipping up. You're chipping out. You're chipping out, bro.
You're breaking up bad, bro.
That bro got metro. Now, Piano kicking people off, boy. That's crazy.
I didn't. But go ahead. Y'all can respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, and anybody has a right to believe what they believe in, and that's another thing too. It's like we want to impose our own mindset on everybody. Like I want Leandre to think like me. I want DMG to think like me. And I think people, we got to grow out of that. Everybody's not going to think alike, man. You're going to find 20 to 30 people that may have some sort of similar thinking, but that's it. Even if you go to the same church, you're going to find some people with their doubts about certain things. They might believe in God, but they don't believe 100% what the faith believes in. So everybody's not going to agree 100% on any topic, in my opinion. But I do believe that with the Kemet stuff, it's sad, yo. When I look, I've been studying it for 3 years. I mean, I used to study Kemet back in the days, but I used to believe the stuff. I used to believe December 25th come from Eru. I used to believe the resurrection come from Asar. I used to believe all of that stuff. I believe virgin birth come from Aset and Heru. I believe it. I believe it. So I mean, I was one of the guys that was hooked on. It's like a drug. So I mean, it's each individual what they want to do, yo. I can't knock nobody. But by researching and looking at overall cross-cultural barriers, it helps. That's all I'll tell everybody who loves Kemet. If you believe everything comes from Kemet, just do me a favor. Step outside just 1 foot. Just put 1 foot outside of Kemet for 1 minute, and you'll see a lot.
Yeah,
I do it sound now, please.
I love Kemet, but my thing is, like, you just got to keep it a buck about it, though. I love studying the Kemetic text in terms of the mythology, the history, etc. But I don't think everything came from Kemet. I think it's shared concepts between Kemet, Christianity, West Africa, Christianity, all of that. But I don't think anybody copied anything. I just feel like we go too far with this. They stole this and they stole. Like, come on, man. It's a trip to me, but
I'm still breaking up bad, bro.
No, you clear now. Hey,
there we go.
Before you go, have y'all decided what day y'all gonna have it on? Because I'm trying to figure out if I can get up there.
October 15th, October 22nd. I don't know, because there's no venue. So that's the problem right now. We're trying to find a venue. I think we should do it in a church, because that's a safer location. And plus, if they have like the slide stuff and then projected, that would be pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Because we need this debate, yo. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a shift. We need this debate. We definitely need this debate.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, nobody. I know you've been trying to say something.
Oh no, I was just trying to make sure that y'all could hear me. Y'all go ahead. I chime in whenever.
All right, Black Lion Supreme in the building. Hotel, my bro.
Coming for y'all.
My fellow Egyptomaniac.
Hey, Garfield, I got a question.
Yeah, bro.
One time we were in a back chat, and Garfield said that I wasn't going to be able to find a single PhD, nobody with a PhD who believed in God. What do you think of that?
Who said that?
That's what Black Lion said one time. I got the screenshots. That brother said that one time in a back chat.
I said what?
Nah, he ain't say that.
I promise. Before God, he said
what? Say it again.
He ain't
I said what?
Black
said
Lion, real quick, y'all. Black Lion, you a little muffled, bro.
Can you hear me now?
You're still muffled, bro.
Damn.
I can hear him good.
Let me try this. Hold on.
Okay. While he fixing that, I just want to say good debate.
Okay, can you? I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
Go ahead, nobody, and I'll go after you.
No, okay. I just want to say, nice debate to both of y'all, man. I think y'all raised the level of debating, as in like not disrespecting each other. Nobody called nobody out nobody's names and stuff like that, man. And I just want to pat both of y'all on the back for that.
Hey, no doubt, King. Peace and love, and thanks for supporting my channel when you do, bro. I'll be seeing you. You know, thanks.
Oh yeah, I'm always on your channel, man. you my top dude in the conscious community. Out of everybody who I consider in the conscious community, you are at the top, the number one of that list, because I can see when you're not being biased and when you're not just going with the crowd because the crowd said. And that alone, coming from the conscious community, makes you my top guy on that side, bro. Like, and DMG will tell you that same thing.
Much love and respect, bro. I appreciate that. And I try, bro. I try. That's all I could do is try.
Okay, what I got from you, bro, is you saying that Yahweh was a witness to the flood. So don't go there. I don't know what you're talking about, a PhD. I don't know what you're talking about, what I said about a PhD. I didn't hear what you said, but you didn't show that one biblical scholar talking about Abraham ever walked this earth. So the leaping you did, which Spider-Man leaps pretty good, but the leaping you did was a suicidal leap right off the hill of Abraham into the ocean and drowned yourself. So let's keep it 100. As for you, Jabari Fever.
I got the fever all day.
As for you, what I said was that according to people who actually read Hebrew, the Hebrew word for virgin in the Old Testament means maiden. It doesn't mean a person who didn't have sexual intercourse.
I figured out the problem.
You find that, hold on. You find that in the Greek text called the Septuagint that was created in Egypt. That's all I said. I didn't say it came off the walls of Egypt. I didn't say you get it from the Meta. I said you get it from the Greek text, which is what Matthew used.
And Luke was using the Septuagint,
hold on a second.
right?
Right, the Septuagint.
And in the Septuagint,
if you're going to quote me correctly.
Hold on.
Time to go, bro.
Only Black Lion and Garfield talking right now. Go ahead.
Hey, Black
Lion. Let me know when I can speak, bro.
Black Lion.
Problem when I come on.
Yes.
What is the word for young woman in Hebrew? What word is that?
I don't know. I don't know the word. I just know those who speak Hebrew. That's what they say. Like Captain Tazoriak, Zion Lex. That's what they say.
Hold on. Let me ask Leandre a question. What does Alma mean in English?
It can mean young woman. It can mean maiden or virgin.
Okay.
DeAndre, DeAndre.
But they wasn't using the Matthew and Luke wasn't using the Hebrew. They were using the definition of the Greeks, and it distinctly said virgin. The
they got it from the Septuagint.
They wasn't using the Hebrew. I don't know why. I'm speaking, bro. Brother, come on, man. I'm speaking. Do I got to raise my hand or what?
I got a question for Leandre. Go ahead.
Hey, Leandre, during that debate, let me ask you this. The brother said something, and I don't know why you didn't jump on it. Maybe this wasn't important to you. I want to know if this is an important point to you. When the brother said in the debate that Jesus Christ exists, can we have Jesus Christ without his descendants going back to Abraham?
In one sense, I suppose you could have a completely crafted you could have a completely crafted genealogy. However, I don't think that that's likely, and that's why I said I think that what they thought that they were doing was constructing real history. So it would be just like. And this one of the things I thought I was going to have a 15-minute Q&A thing, so I didn't get to go into all this stuff. But imagine for a second, to your point, JJ. So imagine for a second we were talking about whether or not we could know that I descended from a slave, for example. It wouldn't be anything at all to say, like it would be pointless to say that there's no archaeological evidence or no written records of slaves where when record stuff wasn't kept, we don't have accounts of them or anything like that, and that a lot of people's genealogy stops at a certain point when you're looking back. So this is something that Black folk run into all the time. So if someone had an oral tradition in my family that says, like my great grandmother is still alive, she lives here in West Fresno, and she was raised by a slave named Julie, and Julie didn't even have a last name. So Julie raised her. And is there archaeological evidence for Julie? No, she was actually buried in a grave with no headstone. No one has found it or excavated it or anything like that. And but my grandmother, she was birthed by a slave. So I think it's a ridiculous methodology to try to dismiss the genealogy of the when they were particularly trying to make a point about their history going back to the promises that God has made before. So I don't think it's likely that you would have a historical Jesus, and then you can just sort of dismiss his genealogy. Plus, there's so many of them. There's so many, and then watch the last thing. One of Garfield's main contentions is that you have a composition of a bunch of texts. This means that the biblical text then is not one source, but it's a whole host of sources. And if you have multiple sources attesting to the historicity of a certain figure, like Abraham, well, that adds historical credence. This is here of multiple independent witness attestation. So if you were a documentary hypothesis holder and you have a Yahweh source and an Elohim source, that's just two sources, both of which mention Abraham. Those are two separate sources that scholars who hold to that view would say we're not writing in concert. And they're going to say that's why there's discrepancies between the stories. But you now have two separate people groups identifying a historical figure, Abraham, going back, and then later Jews building upon that very same story, looking back into history. So methodologically, I think that there's all sorts of problems with that position. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, I got two more points. Hold up. Let me build with them. Just come on, man.
Real quick, because Garfield was
okay. Okay, well, let me just build with him real quick. Let me just say two things about this debate.
I got you real quick. I'm gonna get back to you, but I want Garfield to finish what he was doing. That's why I wanted you to get something out, but I want Garfield to finish what he was saying because this is about their debate. So give me
my bad. I was long-winded on it. Y'all forgive me.
Yeah,
Garfield,
yeah.
You was asking. Go ahead.
I was asking him something that Black Client said, right? So we know Alma means, you said, unmarried woman, virgin, or maiden, right? Now, when they translate it to the Septuagint, the Greek, does it turn to the word Parthenos? Did they use the word Parthenos?
Yes, it did.
Yes, it do. That means virgin.
What does the word Parthenos mean?
Let them rock, bro.
Parthenos certainly means virgin.
I said that, but I can't rock with the conversation. All right, just let me know when I can go.
No, because he's talking about what I said. So let's go there. It can mean also maiden, and it can mean virgin. But the problem with what Garfield is not bringing out is the Christian tradition is saying that it means virgin. In other words, a person who has not had intercourse. It's not saying young woman. That's Christian tradition.
Let Garfield and Leandre parse this thing out, though.
So does Parthenos
Can I
mean
add one thing?
virgin? And
right, I need to add something too.
Oh my God!
What has that got to do with anything, Garfield? When the Christian tradition is not talking about a young woman.
All right, I tell
because the word Parthenos does mean virgin, and the writer, if Matthew, took that as the verb that it means virgin. Now you said Alma don't mean virgin. The brother Leandre does said in the Hebrew it does mean virgin.
I didn't say it doesn't mean virgin. I said the context according to the Hebrew Israelites, they're saying that in that context is talking about a young woman. It also can mean young woman. And in the context of that verse, it's talking about a young woman, not a woman who hasn't had sex before.
But that's
Every-
how.
Well, that's what I said.
Okay,
That's how
check this
Matthew
out.
took
Check
it,
this
though.
out. Everybody. I want to be clear. I want Garfield and Leandre to parse this thing out. I know how the conversation started. I
They
want them
agree.
to
All right,
parse
cool.
it out.
All right, I'm
Please.
gonna make this simple because I
That
gotta
means
run.
that means just them two, because Garfield getting ready to get out of here, and then we gonna.
That's what I don't want. I don't want him to run. I got some questions for him.
It's not about him running, but he gotta go. He been saying he gotta go. He been on
But it's
longer
about the debate, bro.
I'm gonna mute up, so I'm gonna let you what you want to happen, DMG. I'm gonna
Jeremiah,
mute
he
my
been
mic.
on way longer than he said he
Tell me,
was. It ain't
correct me
about
when
him
I'm
running.
wrong, right?
Yes, sir.
When Alma was translated to the Greek, right, the Septuagint, so-called Septuagint, it became Parthenos. That's the word that they use, right?
Correct.
When Matthew was writing his gospel, or whoever was, they took the word Parthenos not to mean young woman. They took it as it meaning virgin.
Correct.
So that's why Matthew wrote virgin.
Correct.
All right. That's
Can I
all,
add something else?
that's all I wanted to say.
Go ahead, nobody.
All right. What, according to the text, what did Mary say? This is solve all that. Mary said, "I have never slept with a man." That's it. It's talking about her being a virgin as in not having sex. We ain't even got to go now. We can go to the Hebrew and go to the Greek, which everybody agrees. In the Hebrew, it could mean that she's just young, but she did have sex, or it could mean that she is a virgin and never had sex. What did Mary say? When the Holy Spirit came down and said that you're going to
Let
be
me
with a
answer
child
that.
and
Can I
all that,
answer that? Can I answer
Mary,
that?
hold up.
Let
Mary
him finish Black Line, and then you
I
respond.
can pull the verse
Thank
up.
you.
Mary clearly said, "I have not known a man." Everybody know that means that she have not slept with anybody. So she was a virgin in the sense of not having sex. Takes clothes according to the text, not the word or none of that. According to the text, bro.
Can I respond?
Go ahead and respond, Black Line.
Okay. Mary didn't say a word. That's Matthew writing that, not Mary. You don't have no writings of Mary in Matthew at all. You have no direct statements from Mary at all. That is Matthew making making that claim. Now, I do appreciate you saying that, because it points to what I'm saying, that Matthew was talking about a woman who had not had sex before, but that's Matthew speaking. That's not Mary.
Wouldn't that be Matthew? Hold
All
up.
right.
Wouldn't
Hey,
that be?
DMG, can I go after a black line?
Can I go real quick?
Let nobody
Yeah.
respond, and then we're gonna go to you, Jeremiah.
All right. According to the text, yes, that is Matthew speaking, but that would be Matthew giving what Mary said. He's in that narrative.
No.
In
Can't
that
say
narrative,
that, but go ahead.
Come on,
let him go.
Come on, bro.
My bad.
In
Go
that
ahead.
narrative,
Go ahead.
let me know when you're done, bro. All right.
I'm sorry, bro.
In that,
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. I'm gonna mute up.
okay. I agree that it is Matthew writing, just like we quote people all the time when we write or when we talk. This scholar said A, B, and C, or this person said A, B, and C. Yes, it is Matthew writing, but he's writing what either he was there, or either he was told, or however he got the information. He was told. He was saying what Mary had said to the Holy Spirit. He was documenting the conversation between Mary and the Holy Spirit. When the Holy Spirit told her that she was going to be with child, according to the narrative, she said, not Matthew said, she said, according to Matthew, that that she had not known a man, which means that she had not slept with any man before. That's the whole reason why Joseph felt some kind of way, and why Joseph felt like I'm gonna be with a woman who's pregnant by somebody else and not my baby. All that runs together. He felt that way because he like, hey, I ain't slept with her, and she said her own self that she's never slept with a man. So we would have to take that word virgin according to that scenario as her being a woman who has not slept with a man, because we don't have any other textual evidence to prove otherwise. It's just speculation after that.
Okay, but in order for that, like DeAndre said about me just a few minutes ago.
I said,
My bad.
I'm gonna go to Jeremiah, and then Yame, I see you, bro. Please don't go nowhere. Let me let Jeremiah go, and then I'm going to you.
Okay. Now back to the debate. Two things I want to say. I'm gonna get this out first. Okay, the moderators, you cannot be rooting for the debaters and then kicking out people who's rooting for Slim Reaper. Then after the debate, we do a poll. When you moderate, you just be unbiased, and then at the end of the debate, we do this. Moderate, because how do you think Slim Reaper feel that y'all putting out people that's vote for him? So we just got to work on that, just to be fair to the debaters. But okay, now back to the debate, Slim Reaper. When you said that Garfield was arguing from a argument of ignorance, was you saying that his premise was built on an argument of ignorance? Can you kind of go into that? And then I got one for Garfield, and I'm done.
Yeah. So the argument from ignorance basically presumes that the lack of evidence is evidence of absence. So that's a completely false premise itself. So it means that the conclusion itself can't be supported, that Abraham himself did not exist. It's logically invalid. And the historical resource stuff that I was using was where you can find at page 47 of the Historian Fallacies, David Fisher's work here, and various other ones. I'm surrounded by logic books over here, but this is one of the ones I used here. Critical Reasoning and Logic, Introduction to Logic, Logic and Philosophy, so on and so forth. So anyway, so all of these detail that faulty line of reasoning, that because you haven't found evidence something that you can state emphatically that such and such did not exist, which is what Garfield did on the video.
So knowing this with the title of this debate, why, if you knew this the whole time, why would you take that title?
Me?
Yes.
Oh well, I took it because the debate itself is utterly indefensible. I mean, his position is utterly indefensible. You cannot ever make that. I mean, this was an easy knockdown win, because methodologically it doesn't make any sense ever to claim.
Right. Okay, and Garfield, during your debate, and this is the last question. Okay, and this is the last question. I got to echo. Do you feel that you proved that? No, here's a better question. You said Christ exists, so do you feel that you can prove Christ exists without the bloodline of Abraham? And would you say most scholars would say that Jesus and Abraham would be connected?
I'll pass. Next person.
Wow. Yeah, okay. Let me save it. Let me give him another question. I'm done.
No, JJ, we gotta get to.
Okay, yeah, all right. Well, he gonna pass on that, man.
We gotta get to.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead. What's up, name Yahweh?
All right, brother. I apologize for you having to wait so long, but I appreciate you holding. What you got for us?
Peace. What's up to my Ghanaian brethren, Garfield? Peace to Chris and the rest of the panel. My question is, in Isaiah, they're not talking about a virgin having a baby. They're talking about a young woman having a baby.
You're right.
In that time period. So how are we using Isaiah to verify the scroll or the book of Matthew? That's the slip.
I think who you asking it to?
Anybody who want to answer?
I think no, but they were talking about Matthew and Luke's writing. I don't think they said anything about Isaiah and Matthew and Luke writing. Since
I understand Matthew and Luke, but
Jeremiah, hold on. And Yame, were you finished with the
statement? Yeah, I was pretty much finished. But my question is about Isaiah. If Isaiah is not talking about a virgin, how is Matthew using that passage?
He's not using that. He's using what you find in the Septuagint, not in the Hebrew text.
All right. Do Jeremiah or Leandre? Okay, Jeremiah gone. Do Leandre or Jacob want to address that?
Yeah, I can respond. So I guess I would ask the person, and do you know what's the normal meaning of hine in Hebrew? Can you tell me that?
No, I can't.
Okay, so how do you know then? What's your interpretive methodology for knowing that he's not talking about a virgin?
I do. I know that answer.
It's the context. If you read the book of Isaiah, it's the context. In the context, they talk about in that time period. Mm-hmm. You can't have a prophecy. They're looking for an answer in that time period. Right. But that's not my question. Not at the time when the Romans take power. So how does that correlate?
Well, right. Well, except for here's the thing. So there's a literary context as well, and so what's stated about the alma prior to is the Hebrew word hine, and the Hebrew word hine means to behold something. That's something magnificent. Usually, it's translated as meaning that something magnificent itself is going to happen, and so it's usually denoting something marvelous. And oftentimes, when it's used in Old Testament passages, it means that some sort of miracle was to follow. And you can track the usage of hine all throughout the Hebrew Old Testament. So go ahead and start Googling now, because I need you to know about it ahead of time. So and then later the other thing that you have a faulty premise here as well. You assume that if it had application at that particular time, that it would not have any future fulfillment. Well, I don't know how you read any of the Bible, because that wasn't the way that they understood any of the text as having a single sort of application. Now text so this is the dual application way that Hebrews understood text. Now let me ask you a question. Do you concede that did Hebrews have messianic texts in their Old Testament?
Yes, they did.
Okay, and did those messianic texts have application that was present at the time to the original audience?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so it would be fair to say then that just because it had an application at that present time, that it could also have a future application to a future figure, correct?
It depends on the context. You have to read the context.
Are you familiar with any? Are you familiar?
It's an assumption. You're making an assumption.
No, sir. I'm not making an assumption. There are entire studies by actual biblical scholars and historians showing the way that the Jews held the text. As a matter of fact, I have an entire stack right here. Not an assumption. I have an entire stack of these things here called the Encyclopedia of Biblical Interpretation. This is
okay. Can you say a Jewish scholar?
Hang on. I'm actually answering your question. Because this is an anthology. This is by a Jewish scholar. And this here is a commentary. It's a commentary plus an anthology of Jewish interpretations of various texts. And so you can't say that because it had application at that present time that it did not have any further application.
Well, can you give me a Jewish scholar who used that in a dual context?
Yes.
That's about a future Messiah coming through a virgin line.
Yes. So for example, Dr. Menahem Kasher. So he's one. Again, this is an entire thing. There's like 30 volumes to this thing right here. This is an entire thing. So, but what's the support for your presupposition that it can only have one application? That's your premise, and I'm asking you for support for your premise.
I'm using the context of the scripture.
Right, except for my answer says that it can have contextual application as well as a future application, just like you've already conceded.
Right. But I'm saying that the scripture will indicate if it's going to have a future context.
Well, right, and the scripture does. One of those, it says that it says, and I said hine, and you had no response to that. You didn't even know what it meant. So hine is one of those things. The later statements that are made about the one who is to come could not possibly have fit the context. And this is one of the again entire studies done on.
So you're saying that the child being born and that was the sign that they're going to be free. That wasn't the miracle?
No. What the miracle was what it says right before a virgin birth. It says hine, and then it says that an elma shall conceive and bear a child. Virgins don't conceive. Virgins don't conceive. So where that falls into the antecedent, and you know what an antecedent is in the Hebrew text, right?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. So what that says is that what's his antecedent is, and the word ordering of Hebrew scriptures is important because it denotes the emphasis. So when you say hine, and then it's telling you to behold, and what is it telling you to behold? That a virgin shall conceive and bear a child. Now, again,
a young woman.
Okay,
a young woman shall. You keep saying virgin. It's saying a young woman shall give.
Right. Well, let me ask a question. Do you know biblical Hebrew?
I study biblical Hebrew just like you do.
Okay. No. Do you know biblical Hebrew?
I'm out of here, family. I'll see y'all later, man. Peace.
All right, bro. Peace, bro.
We appreciate it, bro.
Okay. Well, right. A second ago, you said you knew biblical Hebrew, but then I asked you what the word hine means, and this is a simple word. You said you didn't know what hine means. Do you know what hine means?
No, I don't know what hine means.
How about an ish?
A wife or a woman?
Toledo. Toledo.
Wait, I'm not here to answer a bunch of your questions on Hebrew.
No. Hang on. This is important because you're telling me what the Hebrew word does not say, and so what I'm pointing out to you.
I'm telling you what the text does not say. You're
telling
focusing so much on one word, hene, to try to change an entire context of
He
a
just
scripture.
named 3 words.
No.
Yeah, but naming and Yame, can I take this away from
Pianki,
Yame? This is easy because I understand Isaiah chapter
Can you
7.
please mute him? We're building here.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
If I mute him, I gotta mute nobody. So it's
well, it doesn't matter who you mute. We're clearly built here, right?
All right, if you want, so you let Leandre and then Yame
go ahead.
rock out, unless Yame want Chris to take over the conversation.
No. Well, then if that's the case, he can't come back and ask me any questions later.
No, I didn't want to ask you any questions. I'm not interested in that.
I wasn't talking about you, lonely boy.
Hey, real quick, in your Pianki, what I do want to do is explain Isaiah chapter 7, because Isaiah chapter 7, if you read it in its full context.
Can I get back to what I was saying? Before he takes
Everybody, hold on. And Yame, were you finished engaging with Leandre? Because I want to make sure, because if y'all want to keep having this back and forth, we can do that for another maybe 5 minutes, and then Chris, nobody and everybody else can get in here. But if y'all finish, then we can start.
I'm done with my portion.
Okay, so can I finish my response then?
Go ahead and finish, and then we'll get to Chris.
Yeah. So if you're going to make a point about what the Hebrew doesn't say, what the Hebrew doesn't mean, then it kind of sounds like you're sort of appealing to some sort of knowledge that you have, but you don't actually have any knowledge of the Hebrew. I'm not the only person that says this. You can grab a Hebrew or a Chaldee lexicon that's going to tell you that the word Alma, part of the semantic domain of the word, is virgin. You're saying it doesn't mean virgin, and you don't have any evidence of that. You can't exclude the semantic range of the word because it contains the word virgin. So anyway, when you say that it doesn't mean something based on the context, I'm telling you that's wholly incorrect. I'm not the only one who says this. Dr. Michael Heiser, with a PhD in biblical languages, has covered this topic exactly, as well as Dr. Michael Brown.
Okay, my question is:
no.
Do they have a word for? Do they have a word for virgin in the Hebrew?
Okay. Yes. One of them is Alma. One of them is Alma. The other one is Betula.
No, they don't use Alma as virgin.
Yes, they do.
They use Betula as virgin.
No, they do not. And you just said that you don't even know any Hebrew.
I didn't say I didn't know any Hebrew. I said I studied the ancient Hebrew.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I speak Hebrew.
I tell you what. I will bet you $5,000 right now that I can go to this Hebrew, this analytic Hebrew and Chaldee lexicon, and it's going to say that Alma is one of the 2 words for a virgin. Do you want to bet $5,000 right now?
I don't even know what that is. The analytical Hebrew.
This is going to give you the meaning of the word. If you don't know what a lexicon is, I don't even know why we're having a discussion.
Can you want
to bet $5,000? I will send you.
Why are you going on the tangent on something different?
DeAndre, let him respond.
No. Pianki. Either you're hearing, you have issues, Joe hearing or not. But I asked him if he wanted to bet. He's not answering my question.
No, I don't want to bet $5,000.
Back and forth with you, bro. He not.
I know. I don't know why he's getting so offended. I'm not trying to be confrontational. I'm saying
I'm not getting offended. I'm talking to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. I'm not remotely offended.
Wait a minute. This is not my opinion. If you study any of the Jewish sages, any of those who wrote the text, I'm not talking about those modern day scholars like Michael Heiser. Go back in time and show me where they say Alma is a virgin. Give me the ancient writings where they was talking about Alma as a virgin. Use Betula as virgin. And that's my case on that. I'm done.
Okay. So like I was saying, there are 2 words that they use for virgin. One of them is Alma. Again, Dr. Michael Heiser has his PhD in biblical languages. So and that includes a study of the ancient text. So I don't know why you're saying that they didn't use Alma as such. Again, I can show you right here. Actually, right here, this right here is an examination of Hebrew and Chaldean texts and what that word meant. I've offered to bet you $5,000 because you're rather dogmatic about it, and I will read to you where it says Alma. One of the words is virgin. You can go check the Theological Dictionary of the Old Testament. It's going to tell you the same thing. And again, this is nothing but an examination of ancient Hebrew texts. Again, get online right now, look up the Theological Dictionary of the Old Testament. It's going to tell you that one of the words used for virgin is an alma. And that is an examination of ancient Hebrew texts and the way that they use the word. Just like in English, you can have more than one word that means the same thing. You could be talking about someone of a female species. I could also call her a lady. I could also call her a woman. I might also call her a girl, any number of things. So just by saying that they had a different word, Batula, doesn't mean that Alma doesn't mean it. And so if you want that, I will cash app you today. And I'm saying this contract. I will send you $5,000 today. If when I read this to you right here, which is an examination.
What is that book called?
This is an analytical Hebrew and Chaldee lexicon.
By whom?
It's put together by various lexicographers. It's more than one person. The main editor is B. Davison, but it's all about lexeme. So it's put together by a host of people, not one person. There's one general editor.
Okay, so they wasn't Jewish. These are.
Sir, do you hear yourself? Sir,
yes, I hear myself.
Do you hear yourself?
All right, look.
This can't be real. This can't be for real.
We're gonna move on. All right, Chris. What was it you wanted to say?
All right. First of all, Isaiah chapter 7 through Isaiah chapter 9 is not speaking about a future prophecy, because when you read Isaiah chapter 7, and I want to educate the audience here, what you have here are Christian pagans who associate partners with the God of Israel. The God of Israel stands alone. I'm going to explain Isaiah chapter 7. I don't care about Michael Heiser, Messianic Christian. I don't care about Michael Brown, Messianic Christian. I don't care about any Hebrew analytical book, because you guys don't have an original Hebrew text to back up any of that junk. It's bullshit. Isaiah chapter 7 starts off. Let's pull it up right quick, and this is easy. All right, Isaiah chapter 7, and I'm not going to do a screen share because he might have a problem with that. But Isaiah chapter 7, where this so-called virgin birth takes place, it says right here, and it came to pass. That's the first thing that it says, in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that Rezin, king of Sudah, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up towards Jerusalem to war against it. Now, as this goes on, the problem that we're having here is that the God of Israel is giving Isaiah a prophecy, and he's telling him, behold, a virgin, as it is translated in the Bible, which is actually, I think it's Batulia that's mentioned there. Is it Batulia in Yame or Alma? Which one is it in Yame?
Alma.
Alma is mentioned there, and that means a young woman. When you read later on in the text, it says that these two children would be signs upon Israel, and it would mean that their God is still with them. So the word we have referenced there is Immanuel, which means God is with us, because the two children that Isaiah later tells you that this woman brought forth and gave to him, which were his children, would be signs upon Israel. Now, I have a problem with the biblical text as it becomes this Jesus hanging on a cross Messiah, because it goes against the covenant given to David in 2 Samuel chapter 7, where the God of Israel expresses to David and gives him the covenant that your son shall come from your bowels. And if your sons keep my law, they shall sit upon the throne of Israel. Now, here's the funny thing about all of this nonsense here. In the New Testament, they try to link Jesus as the son of David, right? But then it goes off into a virgin birth narrative, which would in fact go against the covenant that the God of Israel set forth with, David and his sons forever. Now, here's the killer on it. Jesus was supposed to be a righteous man. So if he was righteous, he should have sat upon the throne of Israel, and no man should have touched him, as God did with Joshua, as God did with David, and as also we see it with Solomon for a time and time until he disobeyed the God of Israel. Pause. Let's think about something here, because we want to go into the book of Luke here. And in the book of Luke, chapter 2, it clearly tells you when Joseph and Mary, this is what it says. And I want to go here because there was no virgin birth. As a matter of fact, Matthew didn't even write Matthew, because it says Jesus chose Matthew. And it says right here, let's go to Luke for a moment. And it says, Jesus gets lost. This is the narrative. This is so funny, right? And it says, I'm going to read this real quick. And it says, now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, he went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. And when they fulfilled the days as they returned, the child Jesus tarried behind in Jerusalem, and Joseph and his mother knew not of it. They supposed him to have been in the company, went a day's journey, and they sought after him among their kinsfolk and acquaintance. And when they found him not, they turned back again to Jerusalem seeking him. Allegory for the son. And it came to pass that after 3 days, there's that 3 days motif again, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. And all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. And when they saw him, they were amazed. His mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou dealt with us? Behold, thy father and I have sought you sorrowing. And he said unto them, how is it you sought me? Don't you know I must be about my father's wisdom? I said wisdom, excuse me. About my father's business. And he says, and they understood not what he had said. They understood not. Now, according to the testimony given in Matthew, apparently the angel spoke to Joseph. The angel spoke to Mary. But right here, they don't even know what he's talking about when he says something like, I got to be about my father's business. The virgin birth is fake. Jesus is fake. David, Solomon, Abraham, and his 3 wicked-ass sons is fake. Them wicked-ass prophets is fake. And not to mention the New Testament cannot be superimposed upon the Aramaic text. You know why? Because you have Greek following upon the Judaic faith. Judaism and Christianity is 2 separate things. The Israelites always got in trouble for making partners with their God. And it would be no different here and now. Stop it. Isaiah 7, nothing to do with Jesus. Daniel 9, nothing to do with Jesus. Michael Heiser, Michael Brown, they've already been destroyed by Rabbi Yeshua. They've already been destroyed by Rabbi Tovia Singer. I have the books. I actually have a text right here that's written in both English and the Aramaic text. And you also, to back up that nonsense you just set up there and said, you have Jewish scholars and ancient sages inside the stone editions Tanakh that sit back and tell you that it was talking about Isaiah's children. It's not speaking about a virgin birth. It never was. It never will be. And 2, if he the son of God, what they trying to link him to David for? He's God's son. Makes absolutely no sense. Not to mention that in order for it to be a sin sacrifice for the people, it got to be taken to the altar. A priest got to do it, and it got to be a female goat. You are done, and it can't have any cuts on it. Sorry, you forever. I just want to say that because these are pagans. And yes, the followers of Serapis were called the bishops of Christ. Pagan.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I think Chris Harris just spit on his own computer. I don't know.
Yo, let me say that. I'm finna get up out of here real quick.
Hold on, Sabio. I'm gonna get to you in 1 second. I appreciate you holding tight. I gotta ask somebody. I don't know who. But nobody, and then Leandre, I want y'all to respond to what Chris just said.
Okay. I just want to say that was a bunch of rhetoric. I mean, he went all off topic, went over here, over there. None of that disproved anything. We're talking about, they're talking about Hebrews and who was this and who was that. Well, the first Christians were Hebrews. The people who wrote the New Testament, even though they wrote it in Greek, they were the Israelites. So all that stuff that's just been said was irrelevant. According to the text, like I said a while ago, according to the text, according to whichever gospel you want to use, Mary said herself that she had not slept with anybody, just like Leandre said. The miracle and what was about to happen was that a person who had not had sex would be pregnant. How is it a miracle that somebody who's young got pregnant if they were at the age where they can get pregnant? That's not a miracle. Like, that don't make no sense. The miracle of the virgin birth was that a person who had not had sex would be pregnant. How can you get pregnant without having sex? That was the miracle. All this other stuff they talking about and talking around, they skipping over the narrative. The narratives that we get about the virgin births come from the Bible. So we have to use the context in which the Bible speaks about it. It's simple and plain. Mary would be the primary source in this text. The primary source said that she ain't never slept with nobody. Case closed, man. It ain't that complicated. Go ahead, Leandre.
Yeah. So a couple things. So first, I want to do this because we want to talk about credibility again. Hang on, let me let's do this. Because since we got off topic anyway, I'm gonna Pianki, you gotta just give me some leeway. Just hang on 1 second. Can you share my screen, please?
No, I won't. No.
So I just listen. I think Chris Harris thinks that if he comes on and he does a bunch of yelling and then pretending to know what's now, just again, watch this. Chris Harris pretends to know what scholarship is. He pretends to know what scholarship is, and then turns around and then talks. He doesn't care what scholars say. Now, so two people have PhDs in the biblical languages who would have spent their entire careers reading ancient texts, which Michael Heiser's compiled entire books on it, dismissing them or various other sources where it talks about the dual fulfillment or dual application of prophecy, which those are two. Those are two different views, two sides of the same coin, but two different views of application of text. So when you just dismiss those things right there, that's, it just proves that, why nobody should be talking to you. But I just want to show you guys something. Chris Harris will feign scholarship, and he does so all the time, but there's nobody to talk about. So just a couple of days ago, and I just want this for credibility reasons. The guy never knows none of the subject matter he chooses to engage in. He's not on here on a conversation about engineering. And so he's talking about reading an Aramaic text. He clearly doesn't even know the order of those things. On this day, I was on NeoX's channel, and if you go to a 53-minute mark right here, Chris Harris was talking about how I committed a gaslighting fallacy because he pretends to know logic. I've actually studied logic with the college credits to prove it. He has not. And so Chris Harris on this day here was trying to tell me that I was committing a gaslighting fallacy. And what he did was he pulled up, he and NeoX started Googling gaslighting fallacy, but they couldn't find any logic resources that say that there's even a such thing as a gaslighting fallacy. So what he did was he goes to Wikipedia and looks at the gaslighting thing, which is a psychological term, not a logical term. He does that, and then he goes here to another resource about psychology. So the whole point of this thing here is that you should not listen to Chris Harris about much of anything, because most of the subject matter he chooses to engage in, he has no idea what he's talking about. That the Jews viewed multiple prophecies as being dually fulfilled. That's something that's concrete history. Entire studies are done by scholars, not like the dude who's on here now, and not like Chris Harris, but actual biblical scholars, Christian, non-Jewish, whatever, where they've actually talked about and noted the numerous ways in which the Jews viewed even prophecies and even parts of the text that aren't where the literature itself isn't prophecy. There are particular prophecies contained in it. You can just go right here to the index of this particular book here, which is written by a Jewish scholar, and you could pull up the particular text related to Messianic era or Messianic redemption or the Messiah, and it's going to list all of the times that these texts had Messianic applications. So with respect to the brother here and with Chris Harris, you guys don't know what you're talking about whatsoever. So there is no weight at all to be supplied. You can look up numerous studies right now on dual fulfillment or dual application. As a matter of fact, if we grab any one of these resources on handbooks for biblical interpretation, it'll tell you that dual fulfillment or dual application is a valid way that Jews interpreted their own text. So you can not like it all you want to, but that's just dogmatism. You can say that you want to educate the people. You can say that you want to educate the people and all that kind of stuff. When you start rejecting scholarship, you're not providing any education. You are providing dogmatism. So in either case, P, I'm gonna get running. Me and my wife, we gonna hang out. I'll stay for last remarks. Someone wants to say. I can't hear you. You muted, bro.
Oh, my bad. My bad. I was saying if. Why am I echoing? Somebody mute out. Okay, cool. I was gonna say, yeah, if you gotta go, I understand. You didn't devoted most of your day to me, so it's all good. I know you probably about to put my sister to work braiding your hair. You didn't have the do-rag on all day. I'm a little aggravated with you about that, but it's all good. I guess scholars have bad hair days too, so no big deal.
You know how it is. Never mind. You don't know how that is.
No, I don't.
Hey, hey, one last thing. When Chris talks about an Aramaic text, I wonder if he's ever read Ada Yardani's book on the growth of the Hebrew text, because he's constantly talking about you need an original text. Again, if Chris, if you want like some engineering done, I don't know, maybe you want someone to help you design like a bridge or something like that. Go call Chris. But if you want to do anything related to logic, ignore him. If you want to do anything related to history, ignore him. If you want to know anything about the Hebrew language or linguistics, ignore him. Again, most topics that he talks about, just ignore him. And Chris likewise. As a matter of fact, I'll post video as well where Chris likewise doesn't know anything about Hebrew. I ran him through a simple list of Hebrew words like intro, day one stuff. And when we did that, Chris fumbled just like this brother did here. We're not the same. But listen, y'all brothers have yourself a good day.
Leon, didn't he say that Helios, Biblios meant son book, and he swore up and down that that's what it meant based off the language, right?
Oh, yes, indeed. Remember that there was almost a 4 hours. As a matter of fact, anybody wants to watch it, you can go watch on right here on Paradigm Shift TV 314. You can go look up just type in Paradigm Shift TV 314 and look up the Holy Trinity, the Unholy Trinity. And then you're going to find them going on for almost 4 hours, claiming to have sources that's to prove Black Line Supreme, Sabio, Chris Harris. Those three were on here claiming to have evidence and proof that the Bible was called Helios Biblos in antiquity. Chris Harris claimed to have a source, and then he didn't have one, and then he went and said he had used John G. Jackson's book. I downloaded the book on the spot. I went and bought it right on the spot. I asked him for a page number. He couldn't give me one, and then he had to admit out loud on video that he had no such source. Sabio claimed to be pulling up sources. Sabio went to blogtalkradio.com, and then after that, then Sabio pulled up hiddenmeanings.net, which is some crazy weird white conspiracy theorist site. And then after that, Sabio went to a KKK website to try to prove his point. Black Line Supreme, who just jumped back on, also claimed he had sources for Helios Biblos. And then what that revealed, he kept saying, "Oh, I don't have my tablet with me. Oh, there's numerous sources," and he had nothing as well. And last thing before I go, this here is a screenshot right here, a Black Line Supreme claiming that I would not be able to show that any scholar believed in the supernatural. That's what he said. We even talked about God being supernatural. He said that I wouldn't find a single scholar. January 22nd of 2022, Black Line Supreme said that nonsense. And so again, people who come on here, ignore them. They don't know what they're talking about. They have no education, anything relevant. They do no studying. Stop listening to these people. Now,
all right. Can I speak? Can I speak? I've been holding my breath. I've been holding back.
It's all you, Sabio. It's all you.
Okay, good. So, first thing I want to say, all that about Helios Biblios, cool. Y'all got that. I'm gonna concede that. Now, let's get to the evidence of your debate that you just had. Don't interrupt me. Don't say shit, because your debate was. Don't say a word. Nobody say a word.
Everybody mute except Sabio, please, and thank you.
I'm gonna leave before his mama start yelling.
You see, your mama start yelling. You see, because I take care of my elderly mother. So keep disrespecting her, and I might come and meet you face to face, bitch.
Go ahead, bro. You ain't got to explain.
So, first off, his debate was a horrible appeal to ignorance, and I'm going to lay it out perfectly for everybody. First thing he did was he tried to reverse and attack Garfield's source stance by saying that Garfield wasn't going to present anything. The first thing y'all have to understand is that in these types of debate, the burden of proof is on the person in the positive. So the person who believes Abraham existed must present the evidence that Abraham existed. It is not on Garfield's to do anything to prove that Abraham did not exist. All he has to do is show the preponderance of the evidence that he did, that it's more likely that he did not. And that is exactly what Garfield did. This man, all he did was talk in circles and fooled everybody in the chat. So for him to say that I live with my mother is to do what? Try to discredit me again further. No, I take care of my elderly mother. So for him to do that is to show that he has no intellectual what? Prowess. He was trying to get me off and make me attack him, which I did because he wanted that. So I gave him what he needed. Now, back to the debate. He did a whole lot of gish galloping and moving the goalpost. Like I said, after his first round, he was going to repeat himself throughout the debate. And that is exactly what he did. So because he had no evidence to prove that Abraham existed, he's going to do what? Continue to say Garfield did the exact same thing. The absence of evidence isn't the evidence of absence. It's nonsense. We are historians. I'm a historian. So I cannot go off of what I believe to be true about a person. I can't just accept the evidence that Caesar existed because somebody told me he existed. I have to do the research to back up my claims to see if Caesar existed. The same way I did when I studied the Ottomans. So everything that I studied about the Ottoman Empire, I had to back up and fact check before I made the claims and presented the information. And if you cannot do that with anything out of this book, it's speculation. The Bible is the claim. It is not the evidence.
All right.
Yasha Ben Israel.
What up? What up? What up?
Who won the debate,
man.
bro?
Hey, I'm gonna be in and out. You know,
Garfield is up like 80-21.
Yasha, who won the debate?
I would me personally, I'm gonna give the debate to the Slim Reaper personally, and the reason why I'm going to give it to Slim Reaper is because, like I stated earlier, I stated that this debate can't be a debate that's built on scholastics. You know, the very argument itself is an argument from ignorance. And to try to prove that Abraham existed or didn't exist, either way, on either side, the contender would be arguing from ignorance. Okay, so I knew that neither one of these guys was going to prove that. In that, the debate could only be a debate based upon who's the more skillful and more tactful debater. In that, I would have to give it to the Slim Reaper because he made it clear that he understood that the whole argument was an argument from ignorance. And if you can't understand logic and logical fallacies, you know what I'm saying, and and syllogisms, modus tollens, modus pollens, you can't even talk about logic. You understand what I'm saying? You just can't even talk about like you know what logic is because you don't. So that being the case, I knew that it was going to be a debate upon the skill and the tact. And when we looking at the skill and the tact, I deal with logic. And being that I deal with logic, I have to give it to the Slim Reaper.
Yo, hold up. You see everything you just said?
Sabio, hold on.
I'm out. Peace.
All right, bro. I appreciate it. Black line. I'm gonna have everybody close out. We're gonna get up out of here. Go ahead, Black line.
Okay, so let's go, bro. Can y'all hear me?
You real low, bro.
Okay, hold on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So once again, this intellectual wannabe pseudo got his behind destroyed by a Dagger Squad member, the same type of Dagger Squad members that ran him out of the Paradigm Shift chat room for destroying his pseudo nonsense. Did so again today. So now he's hot under the collar. Want to bring up old shit from 2 or 3 years ago. Bro, what I said was you can't find a credible PhD that's going to use the supernatural as a source. That's what I said. That's the context of my statement. If you look at that whole conversation and don't just take out little snippets, you will see who was having a discussion about what do scholars use for evidence. No scholar worth his PhD or masters will ever use theology to back up a historical claim like this clown does all the time. This is the same clown that said Yahweh was a witness of the flood. This is the same clown who believes that Jesus walked on water. So his credibility is already shot. This is what he does. He tries to use the Bible as a reference when it comes to his history. And no real scholar does that. Second of all, when I was talking to nobody, and I said Mary was not speaking in that book, in the book of Matthew. And he said he was quoting her. When I say that DeAndre said that Yahweh was a witness to the flood, I can show that in a screenshot that I got of him saying that. That's how you find someone's quote. That's how you can say you're quoting someone. You would have to show Mary in another text or in the Bible someplace, in her own words, making that claim in order to quote her. Otherwise, that's just Matthew speaking. That's just him writing in his book. You can't find a direct quote from Mary of her saying that she was a virgin and had a baby. This is impossible. It's not in no text. It's not in no biblical text nowhere where you ever find Mary's writing the same way you won't find Jesus writing. So when you're talking about historical Jesus and when you're talking about Abraham, you're talking about pretty much the two figures that has no historical evidence whatsoever to back up their historicity. So it's not a fallacy, or it's not a position from ignorance. We're following the consensus of scholarship. We're following those who actually look at the evidence, who are on the ground looking at the evidence, digging up the findings, going through the text, reading the text that DeAndre mentioned that Garfield never read. Well, they have read it. They went through everything with a fine-tooth comb and have done so for over 100 years. And they are the ones that's come back and said there is no evidence of a historical Abraham. None whatsoever. So this is the position of the people who are actually doing the work. This is not the position of Black Alliance Supreme. This is not the position of Garfield or Sabio or no one from the Dagger Squad. This is what professional scholars say. So you can't come down on us for following the scholarship from professionals. Now, as you see in this debate, he did not source one scholar that said that there's evidence of an Abraham. Not one. What he did was give you a bunch of conjecture. What he did was quote a lot of pseudoscience and a lot of pseudo madness to try to confuse the audience. That's what he does, and he doesn't do no more than that. Now you on my time.
With that being said, we appreciate it, my brother. That's big bro, Black Lion Supreme, 100% respect. Sabio, I'm gonna let you close out first. Let the people know what you got going on your channel. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I just want to reiterate what I just said about being able to actually prove certain things. Remember, when we come into these conversations and these types of debates, the burden of proof is on the person in the positive who believes. So if you believe Abraham existed, you're going to have to present evidence of Abraham existing. The Bible is the claim. It is not the proof. All right. And what I have going on is I've been doing some research on racism in the ancient Near East. I have to bring some light to that because for some reason we tend to think that this idea of racism and discrimination is a 17th century construct. And there's evidence that these ideas goes back to the beginning of humanity and us intermingling and us traveling to other places and coming into contact with people that did not look like us. So I've been studying that, and I'm also putting together a presentation on the impact of religion and slavery on the African continent, and how those two things led us to the places where we are today, to where when we come on these panels, we may call each other brother and sister, but if we don't believe in your Allah, in your Yahweh, in your Jesus, in your whatever, we're not brother and sister. I can go to hell. I am a pagan. I am a criminal. I am immoral. I am this. I am that. I am not your brother until I become a brother in Christ. And I'm going to show you how these things have brought us to the point to where we are in 2022. So that's what I'm working on.
All right. And real quick, Xavier, before you go, make sure you read the screen real quick. My brother in Yambe.
Thanks, sis.
And Yambe, you still there? All right, my brother may not be there. Nobody from Trust and Believe the Gospel. My co-host, Jacobus Wyatt. Close out, my brother.
Let me go last, bro. I'm in the store real quick.
Yeah, my brother in Yame, I don't think he there. So you will be last.
Okay, just give me 10 seconds.
Man, I ain't giving you no time, man. Like that, if you ain't ready, you gotta get All right, so we gonna stall for my brother to close out. Make sure y'all go to the community page on Paradigm Shift TV 314 and vote. Again, the poll is up. Say who you think won the debate, Garfield the Great or the Slim Reaper. I think it was a good debate. The brothers showed a lot of respect for one another. No disrespect, no name calling. I think it was the best debate yet on the channel, and that includes the one I had with Captain K, the one my brother had with Captain K, which were good debates, but I think this was a step up in terms of academic information and source material, etc. So shout out to both brothers for coming on and blessing the platform, taking their time out from their busy schedules. Shout out to the chat. We had a lot of people in here today, and they're coming for the after show. So definitely appreciate that. Y'all know I say this is the most diverse channel in YouTube, Black, conscious, Christian, Hebrew, whatever sector you want to put me in. That's why I shout out every group at the beginning, because every group is welcome here, because I don't care what your belief is, what your ideology is. If you Black, I'm with you. So I say this is the most diverse channel that's out there, because anybody can come on here and speak their speech. And I think this was another example of that.
Can I go close on out for the people? So you get a final one out?
Good show, y'all.
Yeah, I just want to say a lot of what was said about some people closing out is just simply not true. The person has to prove their claim. Doesn't matter if your claim is negative or positive. There's nothing in academia that says that you can't prove a negative. Nothing says that. I know we've been hearing that in the conscious community for years, but that's not academia. You can go look it up right now. Go to Google and type in, can you prove a negative? Really, you don't even have to type it in. You know you can prove a negative. Guess what? I'm not wearing a red shirt right now. I can prove that. I can prove I'm not wearing a red shirt. I can prove I don't have $1 million in the bank. So it's not even that complicated. It's not even that deep. Just because y'all used to hearing that, don't make it true. No scholar have ever said that you can't prove a negative. That's conscious community rhetoric, man. So whoever said that, that's PS. My analogy on the debate is anybody who claims to follow scholarship, honestly, knows that manuscript evidence is a form of evidence, whether you like it or not. In scholarship, manuscript evidence is a form of evidence. You don't have to have bones. You don't have to have a body or none of that. Garfield came on the show. His opening statement, he said that Leandre would have to show him Abraham. And I know Garfield is a smart brother, and I've heard him talk about manuscript evidence on his show. So he knows that manuscript is a form of evidence, but he was looking for either bones or a body or something like that. Because I heard the show yesterday where he was saying that he didn't know what direction Leandre was going to go in, and he mentioned everything on the show but manuscript evidence. So I know he knows what it is. He probably just didn't think that Leandre was going to take that route. And since Leandre did take that route, Brother Garfield himself yielded. He yielded, and he acknowledged that his side of the debate that he had to prove, which was the evidence that Abraham didn't exist. He acknowledged that he could not prove that, and he said that even though he can't prove it, he believes is that it's a low possibility. Not that Abraham can't be proven or disproven or none of that. He said that it's a low possibility. So he conceded his side of the debate, and he didn't have no problem with it. So I don't see why all these other people jumping out here being biased just because Leandre is a Christian has nothing to do with nothing else besides him being a Christian or whatever. Based off of the argument and what was presented, Leandre presented evidence, which was manuscript evidence. Garfield conceded and said that he couldn't prove that Abraham didn't exist. That's the end of that debate. Whether we like it or not, we ain't doing no cult of personality. We're going based off the information. And based off of the information, and Garfield said that he couldn't. So, Garfield said that he couldn't prove his point. So Slim Reaper won that debate based off of the yielding, and it is what it is, And Garfield, my dude, and I go for Garfield in almost every debate that I've ever seen him in. So I'm not being biased at all. Information wise, Leandre had the best argument according to me. That's all.
All right. With that being said, hey, Brother Nyame, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. My baby cried.
Oh no, you good, bro. You good. Go ahead and close out for us. Let the people know what you got going on, and me and you gonna do that interview.
Oh yeah. We got to do it, bro. I went through a little bit during that time, but on the debate, I want to close out with the debate. I like how both brothers presented themselves, but this whole thing where, and we only do it for the Jews and the Bible and the Jewish text. We don't do it for like African spirituality. If they and what they do is say, oh, this scholar said this text was written because of the way that you read the current text. If you read the current text a certain way, we come up with this documentary hypothesis. And this documentary hypothesis might have been written 500 years before we have this original text. It seems like they make excuses to make the text further back than what the evidence shows. We don't do that for nobody else, nothing else. Only this Jewish text. Oh, this scholar say, and I'm kind of going in on the brother a little bit. This scholar said, Michael Heisner say, it's a dual prophecy. I don't care what Michael Heisner say. Let's go back to the time when these Jewish sages was writing the text. They are the authority on it. What do they have to say about that time? That gives you better or clearer evidence than what somebody say in 2022 or 1920. They have the authority. We have the text from them. And they gave us definitions of these words, such as Alma and Bethula. They use Bethula because they want to make specific that they're talking about a virgin. They use Alma because they're talking about a young woman. I don't need your PhD theological background to help me understand why it means this. And so the brothers start dropping. And everybody does this, and I understand why they do it. Or what do you really know? Do you know this word? Do you know that word? Do you know that? Bro, I'm just asking simple questions. Don't get offended. And so black people, I know we all don't have PhDs and we all don't have master degrees, and we're seeking the truth. We just want to know the truth. What's the best way of getting to the truth? You don't have to try to validate what I know because I asked the question. We got to stop doing it. Brothers and sisters out here looking for the truth. And what is the truth? And truth is based on the evidence that we have. It's all evidence based. What evidence do you have? I don't really need your opinion. I don't need your theory. I don't need your hypothesis. I need the evidence. We move forward with evidence. If we go to court, it's based on the evidence, not a hypothesis. And so with that, I enjoyed the debate, and I enjoy your show, Bianchi. Can't wait to have that interview with you. Peace and power to everybody.
That was well said, brother.
Peace and power, my brother. And with that being said, family, again, it's been another episode of Paradigm Shift TV. I hope y'all enjoyed the festivities. Again, I think this was our best debate. I think they stepped it up in terms of the level of information and the decorum between the two brothers. And we're going to try to put more conversations like this together for you. Keep tuning in, keep watching, keep supporting. Y'all see the cash apps and hit your brother. And like I said, we do it for y'all, and we trying to bring as much educational information as we possibly can. So with that being said, we're going to get up out of here. That's peace. We'll be back at you as soon as possible. Y'all be easy.
One last thing, Bianchi.
Go ahead, bro.
Historical manuscripts are evidence, not theology. If that was the case, then Zeus, the manuscripts that point to Zeus will make Zeus real. The manuscripts that point to Amun-Ra will make him real. When we're talking about manuscripts, we're talking about historical manuscripts, not books of mythology and theology. It's two different things. And yes, a negative can be proven, like nobody said, like if does he have a red shirt on? But you can't prove a monkey is flying around. You can't disprove that a monkey is flying around the earth playing a banjo. What you have to do is say that is against the laws of physics, so it's most likely not true. Same thing when it comes to historical figures. If you don't have the evidence, you can't say that they're not necessarily real. But what you can say, it's most likely that they're not real based on the evidence that we have. So with that being said, peace out to everybody. One love, hotep, shalom, and peace.
Peace.
Knowledge itself is important. I get the feeling, you know it. Catch me on front lines, no hold back. All these religions be so whack. Divide and conquer, we felt that. Racist and bigots, we clap back. Big mama taught me to bow my head, but I see beauty in me instead. If your mouth closed, then you don't get fed. Had to read books, not be special ed. Jesus.